There are things that even the most powerful men in the world cannot buy back. Things that money, in all its extraordinary abundance, simply cannot reach. Not because the price is too high, but because price is not the currency they accept. Elon Musk knows this. He has known it for a long time. Longer, perhaps, than the world would guess from watching the man who builds rockets and reinvents industries and looks at the future with the particular, unnerving calm of someone who has already decided what it is going to look like. He knows that there is one thing, one specific, irreplaceable, completely human thing that all of it cannot purchase. And in a rare moment, in one of those unguarded, unscripted, completely real moments that surface only when someone has stopped performing and started simply speaking, he admitted it. He admitted that he misses it. Not the relationship, not the person, not even the feeling exactly. He misses a type of love, a specific, particular, almost extinct type of love that most people spend their entire lives brushing past, without ever stopping long enough to recognize it. The type of love that does not announce itself, that does not arrive with grand gestures or romantic declarations, or the kind of cinematic moments that get remembered and retold. The type of love that exists only in the ordinary, in the unremarkable, in the daily, undramatic, completely unglamorous space between the important things, where most people are not paying attention, where Elon Musk was not paying attention, until it was gone, and then he could not stop paying attention to its absence. That absence, that quiet, permanent, achingly specific absence, is what we are here to understand today. Not because it is his story, because it is yours, because you have felt that absence too, even if you have never had a name for it, even if you have been calling it something else. Loneliness, restlessness, the vague, persistent sense that something is missing from a life that looks, from the outside, like it should be enough. It is not loneliness, it is the absence of this specific type of love. And by the time this story is over, you will know exactly what it is, and you will know what it costs to lose it, and you will know what it takes to find it again. Stay with me, this is going to take a while, but the things that actually matter always do. Before I tell you about the man and the love he misses, I need to tell you about the boy. Not the version in the biography, not the curated origin story that begins with, "He was exceptionally intelligent from a young age." The real version, the version that begins with what it felt like, to be inside that particular life, to be that specific child, in that specific house. In Pretoria, South Africa, in the years when his parents' marriage was ending the way things end when two people have already left each other emotionally, but have not yet found the courage or the words or the right moment to say it out loud. It is a quiet kind of ending, the quietest kind. And for a child who is paying attention, and Elon Musk was always, always paying attention, the quiet of it is louder than anything. He reads, compulsively, hungrily, with the specific desperation of a child who has found in books the thing that the world around him is not providing. Not knowledge, not information, not the intellectual nourishment that people will later use to explain his extraordinary mind. Company. In books, the world makes sense. In books, things happen for reasons that can be understood. In books, there is a logic to the suffering and a purpose to the struggle. And always, reliably, even in the saddest stories, a sense that someone was here, felt this, put it into words, and chose to pass it forward. That is what the reading is, a way of being less alone. He finishes the encyclopedia, both volumes, and then asks the librarian what else there is. He is 9 years old. Outside the library, the world is not as reliable. His classmates do not understand him. Not because he is unfriendly, though he is, by nature, solitary in the way of people whose inner world is large enough to be company in itself, but because the frequency at which he operates is simply different from theirs. He thinks in a language that most of the children around him have not learned. Not better, not superior, different. And different in the social world of children is dangerous. He is bullied, severely. Not the mild, survivable unkindness of ordinary childhood social cruelty. Physical, persistent, organized. He is thrown down staircases. He is beaten badly enough on at least one occasion that his face is unrecognizable when he comes home. He does not talk about this often. When he does, you can hear it, even now, even through the decades and the armor and the extraordinary achievement that has given him every external reason to have moved past it. You can hear that the boy is still there, still remembering what it felt like to be that small, that vulnerable, that completely without protection. And then he goes home, and home is not the sanctuary it is supposed to be. His father, and Elon has said almost nothing about his father publicly, which tells you more than anything he could say. His father is not a man who offers safety, not through the cruelty the world would recognize, through the quieter kind, the kind that operates through withholding, through the cold, precise, surgically applied message that you are somehow, in ways you cannot name or defend against, not quite right, not quite enough, not quite the version of yourself that would earn the uncomplicated warmth that other children seem to receive as simply as oxygen. His mother, May, is warm. She is capable of love in the straightforward, uncomplicated way that her former husband is not. But she is also, in those years, surviving, doing what she can with what she has. And what she has is not always enough to fill the space that the other parent's absence, emotional, even when physical presence is maintained, creates. So the boy does what children do when the world is not safe. He disappears into his mind, into the books, into the enormous, intricate, completely private universe he is building inside himself, where the rules make sense, where the variables can be controlled, where nothing can leave without warning or love without conditions. And he carries that universe with him out of South Africa, across the ocean, into the rest of his life, where it serves him extraordinarily well as an engine of achievement, and costs him deeply, in ways he is still to this day learning to understand, as an obstacle to the type of love he misses. He arrives in North America at 19, alone, with a hunger so large it has no adequate object, and a mind so restless it cannot find rest in anything ordinary. He makes his way to Canada first, then the United States, working jobs that pay almost nothing, sleeping on floors, eating whatever costs least, showering at the YMCA with the other people who are also building something from nothing and have not yet told anyone it is going to work because they are not entirely certain it will. And in those early years, in that grinding, uncertain, completely alive season that most successful people remember as the truest period of their lives, he begins to build. Not the companies, not yet. The pattern. The emotional pattern that will define every relationship he has for the next 3 decades. The pattern goes like this. When things are painful, stop and feel it, or keep moving. When connection requires you to be still or accelerate. When someone you love needs you to show up in the ordinary, unglamorous, completely unproductive space of just being there, be there or be somewhere else. He chooses motion, every time. Not because he is callous, because motion is the language his nervous system learned when he was a boy in an unsafe house. Motion means safety. Stillness means the unbearable things catch up. And so he builds Zip2 on a rented office floor. He codes through the night. He sleeps in shifts. He eats whatever is closest to hand. He pours himself into the work with the complete, consuming, total body dedication of someone who has found the thing that makes him feel most alive. And it works. Zip2 is acquired. $22 million. And then, because motion is what he knows, because stopping feels like dying, he takes the money and immediately pours it into the next thing. X.com, then PayPal, then SpaceX, then Tesla, then the solar company, the tunnel company, the satellite network, the AI company. Building, always building. And here is what the building costs him. Here is what nobody talks about when they talk about the extraordinary productive output of Elon Musk. Every hour he spends building is an hour he is not learning how to be still. Every problem he solves with engineering is a problem he is not learning to solve with presence. Every achievement that proves his worth to the world is an achievement that lets him avoid proving something else. Proving that he can simply be, without the rockets, without the companies, without the evidence of extraordinary productivity to justify his existence. Simply be, in a room, with a person he loves, without a mission, without a deadline, without anything to show for the time except the particular, unremarkable, completely invaluable accumulation of two people choosing each other, again and again, in the space between the important things. That is what he could not do. That is what he built instead of learning, and that is what he misses. He met Justine Wilson at Queen's University. He pursued her with the same intensity he brings to everything, showing up at her door with flowers, asking her to coffee, not giving up when she initially said no. Because Elon Musk does not give up on anything, including the people he decides he wants beside him. She was a writer, fierce and intellectually uncompromising, and alive in ways that his highly ordered, problem-solving mind found simultaneously magnetic and deeply challenging. She did not perform softness for him. She did not rearrange herself to make him more comfortable. She was, completely, without negotiation, entirely herself, and he loved her for it. He loved her the way people love when they have been lonely for a very long time. Completely, without strategy, with the full, undefended, terrifying openness of someone who is finally, after years of existing primarily inside their own mind, letting someone in. They married. They had children. And for a while, for a beautiful, imperfect, completely real while, the love was the right kind. The kind that exists in the ordinary moments. The kind that does not require a grand occasion to be real. The Saturday mornings, the dinners that ran long, the particular intimacy of two people who know each other's rhythms, who know which silences are comfortable and which are charged, who know how the other takes their coffee, who know the exact sound of the other's breathing when they have finally fallen asleep. That kind of love. The unremarkable kind. The kind that does not announce itself, that simply is. And then Nevada, their first son, 10 weeks old, gone. And the love. The ordinary, unremarkable, quietly sustaining love met the one thing it could not absorb without help: catastrophic grief. Justine needed to stop, to let the grief be as large as it actually was, to fall apart in the open, in the mess, in the full weight of what had happened. Elon could not stop. His nervous system, trained since childhood to treat stillness as danger, could not find the gear. He went back to work, within days. Not because he did not love Nevada. He did. He does. But the machinery of his survival kicked in. And Justine was left alone inside a grief that should have been shared. And in that aloneness, in that devastating, specific aloneness of grieving beside someone who is not grieving with you, something in the marriage changed. Not dramatically, not overnight. The way the most important things change. Slowly, invisibly, irreversibly. Justine later wrote about their marriage with the kind of honesty that most people reserve for private conversations. She wrote about feeling like she was disappearing inside his story, about feeling managed rather than loved, about the particular experience of being beside an extraordinary man and feeling not elevated by it, but slowly erased by it. She did not write this to wound him. She wrote it because it was true. And because the truth, when it is spoken by someone who has lived it, can do something that nothing else can. It can change things. It changed him. Not immediately, not completely, but it planted something, a recognition, that the type of love he had, the real kind, the ordinary kind, the kind that does not require a performance or an achievement to justify itself, was something he was capable of losing. Not through dramatic failure, through the quiet, accumulated cost of 1,000 small moments of choosing the work over the person, of choosing motion over stillness, of choosing to be somewhere else when the most important place to be was simply there. The marriage ended, and in the aftermath, in that particular, raw, completely private aftermath that the world only sees as a headline, Elon Musk said something that the people around him remembered for years. He said he could not stand to be alone. Not in the ordinary sense. Not the way people say it when they mean they find solitude uncomfortable. He said it with the weight of someone who has spent the majority of their life feeling fundamentally, specifically, achingly alone. Even in rooms full of people. Even in marriages. Even in the extraordinary, constantly populated world of a man with his visibility. the particular aloneness of a person who is everywhere known and nowhere truly seen. He remarried to Lula Riley, an actress, warm and bright and genuinely, generously loving in the particular way of someone who has her own quiet depth and is not frightened by someone else's intensity. She gave him something real. He did not yet know how to fully receive it. They divorced. He married her again. They divorced again. 2 marriages to the same woman. The world found this remarkable for all the wrong reasons. The columnists wrote about his judgment. The commentators analyzed his pattern. But the real story, the one underneath the one the world was watching, was much simpler and much sadder. He kept trying, with the same person, because something with her had been close to the thing he was missing, close enough that he could not accept that it was over, close enough that he went back, but not quite close enough to hold. Not because she was wrong, not because he was wrong, because both of them were still learning, still becoming, still figuring out, separately and together, what it actually took to build the kind of love that does not break under the particular, extraordinary pressure of a life lived at his altitude. And in the years between the marriages and after them, in the quiet seasons that the public narrative glosses over in favor of the next headline, he learned something. Not from the successes, from the absences, from the specific, particular, completely irreplaceable absences of the ordinary moments. The dinners that did not happen because he was at the factory. The conversations that did not go deep because his mind was already 3 problems ahead. The Saturday mornings that passed unmemorable, not because nothing happened, but because he was not fully there for them. The unremarkable, unglamorous, quietly sustaining accumulation of simply being present with another person that he had been missing. Not intentionally, but completely. And it was in the missing of it that he finally understood what it was. There is a type of love that the world does not make movies about. It does not generate quotes that get printed on greeting cards. It does not produce the kind of moments that people post about or remember in their wedding speeches. It is not the falling. Not the electric, intoxicating, world-altering experience of new love that makes everything feel larger and more vivid and more possible than it did before. Not the grand gesture, not the declaration, not the romantic occasion that gets planned and remembered. It is the other kind, the kind that exists only in the daily, the unremarkable, the space between. It is the kind of love that lives in the way someone pours your coffee without asking how you take it because they already know. In the way they laugh at something you say before you have finished saying it because they already see where you are going. In the way they sit beside you in comfortable silence. Not the silence of 2 people who have run out of things to say, but the silence of 2 people who do not need words to be present with each other. In the way they notice when something is wrong before you have said anything. In the way they tell you the truth, even when the truth is inconvenient. In the way they are simply there. Not performing being there, not managing being there, not strategically allocating their presence in the way of someone who is aware of how they are being perceived. Just there, fully, without agenda, without condition. The ordinary love, the invisible love. The love that is so quiet and so consistent that you can live inside it for years without quite noticing what it is, until it is gone. And then you notice. You notice in the way you notice the absence of a sound you had stopped hearing. A refrigerator hum, a ticking clock. Something that was always there, so always there that your brain had classified it as background, as given, as the kind of thing that will simply always be there, until the day it is not. And in its absence, the silence is deafening. That is the love Elon Musk misses. Not the extraordinary love, the ordinary one. The one that requires no occasion. The one that does not need to be earned or performed for or justified by achievement. The love that simply exists, between 2 people who have chosen each other again and again, in the unremarkable daily moments that nobody celebrates, because nobody has to, because both people know that this, exactly this ordinary, invisible, completely sustaining this, is everything. We have a problem in the way we talk about love. We have romanticized it so completely, filled it so full of dramatic moments and grand gestures and cinematic declarations that we have made the ordinary invisible. We have taught ourselves to look for love in the peaks, in the moments that photograph well, in the feelings that announce themselves clearly and unmistakably as this is the love. And in doing so, we have made ourselves blind to the kind that actually sustains. The kind that holds two people together not through the peaks, but through the long, flat, unremarkable expanses in between. The ordinary Tuesday, the difficult Thursday, the Sunday that is just a Sunday, no occasion, no adventure, nowhere to be except exactly where you are, with exactly who you are with. That Sunday is where love lives. Not in the vacation, not in the anniversary, not in the moment you will tell your children about. In the Sunday that you will never tell anyone about, because nothing happened, except everything. Except two people simply being together, choosing each other, in the space where no one is watching, where there is nothing to perform, where the only thing required is presence, real presence, the kind that is not checking something else, not planning the next thing, not half in the room and half somewhere the room cannot follow, the kind that is simply here, with you, nowhere else. That is the extraordinary thing. That is the rarest thing. That is the thing that Elon Musk, a man who can be anywhere, whose mind is always already somewhere else, whose extraordinary forward momentum is simultaneously his greatest gift and his most costly personal limitation, that is the thing he misses. The ordinary Sunday, the Tuesday that was just a Tuesday, the moment when someone who loved him was simply there, and he was simply there, and nothing was being built or solved or achieved, and it was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything. Here is what Elon Musk has learned. Not from the rocket launches, not from the boardrooms, not from the interviews and the biographies and the decades of extraordinary visible achievement that the world has spent years watching and analyzing and trying to understand. From the absences. From the specific, irreplaceable, completely ordinary moments that slipped past while he was somewhere else. The lesson is this: you cannot build your way into belonging. You can build the most extraordinary things in the history of human civilization. You can put rockets into orbit. You can put electric cars on every road. You can connect the entire planet from space. You can accumulate a fortune so large that it has changed the way the world understands what is financially possible for one human being. And none of it, not $1 of it, not one rocket of it, not one headline of it, will give you back a single ordinary Tuesday morning with someone who loved you. Not one. The Tuesday is irreplaceable. Not because it was special, because it was real. Because it was the specific texture of a specific moment between two specific people who had chosen each other. And no amount of extraordinary achievement can replicate the specific texture of the ordinary moment. That lesson, that is the most expensive lesson Elon Musk has ever learned. More expensive than the 3 rocket explosions. More expensive than the near bankruptcy. More expensive than anything the financial world has ever cost him. Because the rockets can be rebuilt, the money can be remade. But the Tuesday, the ordinary, unremarkable, completely real Tuesday, that is gone. And it will not come back. And knowing that it will not come back is the particular, specific, deeply human grief that lives underneath all the ambition. The grief for the ordinary. The grief for the present moment that passed while he was already in the future. The grief for the type of love he misses. I need to stop talking about him now. And I need to start talking about you. Not because his story is less important, but because his story is only the door. What matters is what you find when you walk through it. And what you find, if you are willing to be honest, if you are willing to stop for long enough to actually look, is your own version of this. Your own ordinary Tuesday that is passing right now. While you are thinking about the next thing. While you are planning the future you want to be living instead of the present you are actually in. While you are half in the room and half somewhere the room cannot follow. The person beside you right now. The relationship you are inside right now. The ordinary, unremarkable, completely real moment you are in right now. Is it enough? That specific love, those specific ordinary moments, that particular irreplaceable texture of a specific daily life with a specific person who knew him in a specific way, that is gone, and he knows it. And the knowing of it is a particular kind of grief that no amount of achievement dissolves. But for you, if you are inside something real right now, if there is a person in your life, or a relationship you are building, or an ordinary Tuesday you are currently inhabiting, the missing does not have to be the lesson. You can learn it before the absence teaches you. You can choose presence before loss makes it the only option. You can be there, fully, completely, without the part of you that is already somewhere else. Now. Not when the work slows down, not when the ambition is satisfied, not when you have built enough to justify stopping. Now, in this moment, in this ordinary, unremarkable, completely real, and completely irreplaceable moment. Now, Elon Musk admits he misses this type of love, the ordinary kind, the invisible kind, the kind that asks nothing extraordinary of you except the most difficult thing there is, your full presence. Not your money, not your achievements, not the impressive, curated, carefully managed version of yourself that you bring to the world. Your full, undivided, completely human presence. In the ordinary Tuesday, in the space between the important things, in the room where nothing is happening, except everything. That is the love worth building. That is the love worth staying for. That is the love that, when it is gone, leaves the kind of absence that no rocket can fill. Build it, with both hands, with your full attention, with the complete, undefended, absolutely real presence of someone who has finally understood that the ordinary moment is the extraordinary thing, that the unremarkable Tuesday is the gift, that being here, fully, completely, without reservation, is the most important thing you will ever do, with the most important person in your life, in the most ordinary moment, which is happening right now. Do not miss it. If this story reached something in you, if it gave words to something you have been feeling without quite being able to name, then carry those words. Let them change something in how you move through your days. Let them bring you back to the room, to the person, to the ordinary Tuesday. And if you want to be here every week for more stories like this, stories that go all the way beneath the surface, stories that find the human truth inside the extraordinary life, stories that bring you back to yourself, subscribe and stay with us. We will be here every week, waiting for you in the ordinary moments, the way the best things always wait. Quietly, without announcement, simply here. We will see you there. A real, complete, genuinely shared life, where the love is not in the special occasions, it is in the ordinary ones. And the ordinary ones are enough. They are more than enough. They are everything. Here is what I believe about Elon Musk. I believe he is not finished. Not with his missions. Everyone knows he is not finished with those. But with this, with the learning, with the slow, painful, extraordinarily expensive process of becoming a person who can be present, who can be still, who can sit inside an ordinary Tuesday and know, not theoretically, but in the body, in the bone, that this is it, that this is the thing, that the person across from him, and the coffee going cold, and the conversation going nowhere in particular, this is the extraordinary thing. This is what the rockets are for. Not to escape the ordinary, to earn the right to be present in it. I believe he is learning this. I believe the admissions, the rare, unguarded moments when he says something real about what he misses and what he needs and what no amount of achievement has managed to fill, are not the words of a man who has given up. They are the words of a man who is finally, after everything, telling the truth. And a man who is telling the truth about what he needs is a man who is getting closer to finding it. Before I bring this to a close, before I release you back into your own life with whatever this story has stirred up inside you, I want to give you something. Not advice, not a list of things to do. Something simpler. A question. One question. The same one Elon Musk has been answering slowly, painfully, at enormous cost for the past several decades. What ordinary moment am I not being present for? Not the obvious one. Not the phone at dinner, half listening to your partner, technically in the room but not really there absence that everyone already knows about. The subtler one. The ordinary Tuesday you are inside right now. The relationship, the conversation, the person who is choosing to be beside you in this unremarkable moment. Are you there? Are you actually, fully, without the part of your mind that is already somewhere else? There? Because here is what I know. The love Elon Musk misses will not come back. Not as a question designed to make you grateful for what you have, as a genuine question. Are you actually present in it? Are you actually here? Or are you, the way Elon Musk was for years, in rooms with people he loved, somewhere else, thinking about the next problem, planning the next achievement, already in the future that has not happened yet, while the present, the actual, real, irreplaceable present, passes, quietly, without announcement, without warning, the way the ordinary always passes, until one day you look up, and it is gone, and you understand too late what you were in. I want to tell you something that nobody in the self-help world is saying loudly enough. Presence is a practice, not a revelation, not a mindset shift, not a decision you make once and then maintain effortlessly. A practice, like a muscle, like a skill, like anything worth having, it requires daily, deliberate, often uncomfortable effort. Because the pull away from the present is powerful. The future is so much more interesting, more controllable, more full of the possibility that things will be better, different, more of what you want than what you currently have. The future is seductive, and the present, the ordinary, unremarkable, nothing special is happening present, asks you to be satisfied with what is, with who is here, with this room, this person, this moment. Not a better room, not a more accomplished or more exciting or more impressive person. This one. And that is hard, for everyone, but particularly for people like Elon Musk, and perhaps for people like you, people who are building something, people whose minds are always ahead of their bodies, people who find the future more compelling than the present, because the future is where the important things are going to happen. Here is what I want to tell you. The important things are happening now, in the room you are currently in, with the person who is currently there, in the ordinary Tuesday that will never come again. Not because ordinary Tuesdays are rare, but because this Tuesday, this specific, particular, completely unrepeatable configuration of you, and this moment, and this person, and this unremarkable day will never happen again. And you are inside it right now. Are you here? The ordinary love, the type Elon Musk misses, the type that sustains and holds and makes the extraordinary meaningful, does not happen by accident. It is built. Not through grand gestures, not through the kind of romantic investments that the world notices and applauds. Through the daily, private, completely unglamorous discipline of showing up, of being there, of choosing the present over the future, again and again, in the small moments that nobody is watching. It is built through the coffee you make for someone without being asked. The question you ask at dinner that is genuinely curious and not just polite. The evening you spend in the same room, doing nothing in particular except being in the same room. The conversation that goes longer than it was supposed to, because you decided not to check the time. The moment when someone needed you to be present and you chose to be present instead of productive. The Sunday that was just a Sunday. The Tuesday that was just a Tuesday. The ordinary moments that accumulate, invisibly, into the most extraordinary thing two people can build together, a life.